Members of Parliament, support staff, visitors in the public tribune, radio listeners, TV viewers, all following this meeting via social media, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to the Central Committee meeting for today. This is Central Committee meeting number 6 for today, Tuesday, November. Thank you. I have received notices of absence from the members MP Lewis as well as MP Roseburg. I look to the members present to ascertain whether there's a need for notifications from the floor. We do have, no. Okay, I guess I am with MP Waver's card. That's why so I was like, okay, MP Waver. No, so but that's okay. We'll get to change that in a moment. But for notifications, I do have an indication from MP Lacruz, who I invite to take the floor at this time. MP Lacruz, you have the floor for notifications.
A blessed morning, Madam Chair Lady. Notice of absence from my colleague, MP Otley. And Madam Chair Lady, if you allow me, I have something that is burning in my mind these last few days, and seeing the meeting that we have today with the Honorable Sir, I'd like to start by asking a question.
In notifications, MP?
Yes, Madam Chair Lady. Is that okay, or you rather that I do it after?
Yes,
Yes?
please, yes.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Oh, okay, so MP Lacruz, so that would have been a notification, but you'll hold the question and you'll pose it.
Notification, MP Otley.
Yes, okay, thank you. Just a reminder in general that it's okay that you mention it here. We know we hear from MP Otley, but do not forget to also send it in email to the Secretariat, so that we can have it registered as having received. So thank you, MP Lacruz. And then, members, without any other notification being necessary, we continue with the agenda point for this meeting. And that is the annual report for the year 2024 from the Social Economic Council. Members of Parliament, this document is registered on the IS 206-206 from this parliamentary year. You can find the entire report there. However, we have with us here the representatives of the SER, and they will give a presentation on the report. So at this time, I will give the floor to Mr. Duran, the chairman of the board, and he is going to, of course, give opening remarks, and I believe also give the presentation, and then we will come down to, if necessary, the technical staff of the SER. So with that, Mr. Duran, I invite you to take the floor.
Good morning, Madam Chair Lady. Good morning, members of Parliament. I would like to first thank you, Madam Chair Lady, and the members of Parliament for having us this morning to highlight and present the SER's annual year report for 2024. I'm going to give a brief insight into the report and then open the floor to the members of Parliament. However, before I give my opening remarks, I would like to, it was already done by yourself, Madam Chair Lady, to introduce again the Secretary General to my right, Mr. Gerard Richardson, and the Acting Secretary General and Senior Policy Advisor, Ms. Arnell. So I'm going to delve right into it, Madam Chair Lady, and also for the members of Parliament. The 2024 annual report of the Social Economic Council of St. Martin highlights a year of renewed operational capacity. following significant challenges related to the appointment of its board. The board resumed in August 2024, and that resumptions characterized the resumptions of CEL's full operational capacity and revitalized dedication to serving government, parliament, and specifically the people of St. Martin. The active advisory role of the SER, the latter half of the 2024 year witnessed the SERs actively and diligently worked on several crucial and advisory requests submitted by government and parliament. Shortly, I will go into those advices that we completed during this board term. The key focus areas for the SER over the past year has been its major advisory activities and key focus areas for the council, including economic diversification, labor market development, environmental sustainability, and social inclusion. During the term 2024 as well, the SER actively collaborated with stakeholders within the region and internationally. The SER fostered strong relations ties through introductory visits to counterparts SER Aruba, Curaçao, to encourage shared learning and mutual support. The emphasis for this support is that throughout the region, the Dutch Caribbean, some of the challenges faced by each island are also faced by our counterparts in Aruba and Curaçao, is also faced by St. Martin. So our efforts to collaborate with our counterparts in Aruba and Curaçao is crucial. An important introductory meeting visit was made to the SER Netherlands on the 6th of December 2024 to reaffirm the enduring collaborative spirit between councils. In addition to that, on September 23rd, 2024, the SER actively engaged with the Parliament of St. Martin through an orientation meeting to clearly articulate its crucial role in country's democratic process. One of the core challenges, I think, in legislative initiatives I would like to highlight based on the activities over the past year. One of the challenges faced by the SER during this current term and the previous term was the appointment delays. The appointment delays pretty much give significant challenges faced the delay in appointments. For instance, the decree to appoint the chairman took approximately 5 months. That, Madam Chair, lady, pretty much indicates that some advice that was prepared and worked on by the SER took some time prior to them being completed and submitted to the respected stakeholder that requested advice on those initiatives. I think it's important to mention, Madam Chair, and to the members of Parliament, for the SER, it is important to avoid future hiatuses for the advisory process. It is hoped that the government expedites a piece of legislation that was submitted on November 26th of 2024, where its passage will avoid the possibility of hiatuses in which the council totaled 32 months over the past 2 terms. I would like to proceed and move forward. Over the period since the SER's existence, the Social Economic Council of St. Martin has submitted 63 advices to both government and parliament. 13 were unsolicited advices and 50 were solicited advices. On May 2026, I think May 2026 marks the 15th anniversary of the Social Economic Council. I think it is important for us to highlight this and also indicate that since its inception, the SER has played a crucial role in its advisory function to the country and the people of St. Martin. As I mentioned, the inactivity of 16 months from April 2023 to August 2024 due to an impasse between the former Minister of General Affairs and the employers' organization led to several delays in the operations. And that not only affected the advisory process, but also the process to have the SER as the Secretariat advise adequately and function as it is legislated. I think it's important prior to me ending this introduction to emphasize the aspect of the role of the SER and also the initiative of the SER over the past year to draft a piece of legislation submitted to government, as I mentioned previously, to really address the appointment of members and substitute members by law to avoid any hiatuses or any issues as it pertains to the appointment of members. The goal of this draft decree aims to establish criteria for selection of organizations that nominate members and their substitute to the board. I think to give context, the SER seeks to also a timely appointment of the board for the term 2026-2029. As I mentioned, the SER would be celebrating its 15 years of existence in 2026, and it would be amiss that we do not get this piece of legislation passed to ensure the continuity of this crucial organization for the country. In closing, Madam Chair Lady, I would like to emphasize the importance of the work done by the SER, its commitment as a board, as an institution to the country and to the people, and its desire to continue to function in the aspect in which it was legislated. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady, and I then open the floor to the members of Parliament if there's any questions with regards to the notification.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Duran, for your introduction to the annual report of 2024 of the Social Economic Council of St. Martin. Members of IC, Mr. Duran, you had something to add before
Yes, I would
give the floor over?
I think it's important, as I mentioned, during the period of 2024 and also the inception of the SER has submitted and completed 63 advices, as I mentioned, 13 unsolicited and 50 solicited advices. But I think it's important that we give an indication or overview of the advices that SER has completed within this term, and specifically 2024, and the pending advices. So for 2024, Madam Chair Lady, due to the impasse, there were the SER as a body was unable to provide the necessary advices to government and Parliament based on the request. However, I would like to highlight also the aspect of the delay in the receiving the decree for myself as chairman also caused a delay in the SER's ability. However, nonetheless, I would like to give a synopsis or indication of the draft advices that was provided during the course of this year, because I think it's important for us to highlight that the SER, despite the challenges, continue to work. One of the 6 advices that has been completed and submitted are the letter of advice regarding amendment of the National Decree Passenger Transport that was received from the Minister of Tourism Economic Affairs, the letter of advice to conduct research on the Early Childhood Development Funding Model submitted by the Minister of Education, letter of advice, National Ordinance Visitors Tax and National Ordinance Preparedness and Resilience Resource Public Health and Tourism, submitted by the Minister of Social Development and Health, Mr. Richard Brugge, Minister Brugge, the letter of advice, draft initiative, National Ordinance amending Article 3, first paragraph under 1 National Ordinance Admittance and Expulsion, that was submitted by the faction of the United People's Party, submitted by the Member of Parliament, Omar Otley. The letter of advice on the National Ordinance of Sustainable, Affordable, Accessible Healthcare Act, also known as the SAHA, submitted also by the Minister of VSA, and the letter of advice on the draft national decree of the SAHA. Those were the advices provided by the SER to the respective ministers and members of Parliament that requested such. I would like to then culminate with the current advices that are pending the SER's handling That is one, the draft national ordinance amending the national ordinance on admission and expulsion in connection with the expansion of categories of persons eligible for admission by operation of law. That was submitted and received by the Member of Parliament, Shamira Rosberg. The draft initiative national ordinance amending the national ordinance regulating foreign labor, submitted also by this faction of the United People's Party, submitted by the Member of Parliament, Omar Otley, and the pending solicited advice received from government is as follows. The letter of advice amendment of Book 7, Title 10 of the Civil Code, temporary labor contracts, submitted by the Minister of FASA. And this was received, I must say, received from the Minister of FASA, then Minister Omar Otley in 2023. The advice for request to conduct a study and establishment of a new poverty line for St. Martin, submitted by the Minister of FASA, Honorable Minister Brugge. The letter of advice to conduct independent assessment of the social economic impact of Soul Beach Music Festival 2025, submitted by the Minister of Tourism and Economic Affairs, the Honorable Grisha Heiliger Martin. The letter of advice related to the national decree containing general measures aimed at adjusting the current financial aid scheme in alignment with the existing practices, formerly referred to as the Landsbesluit onhoudend algemene maatregeling tot wijziging van het uitvoeringsbesluit financiële bijstand ten einde de huidige uitvoeringspraktijk te codificeren. That was received from the Minister of FASA. And finally, Madam Chair, the advice request to review the draft legislation concerning the indexation of the AOV, AWW, AWW in relation to the national decree containing general measures concerning the changes to Article 7, Paragraph 1, 7A, Paragraph 1 and 26, Paragraph 3 to 5 from the Minister of Public Health and Social Development, Minister Brugge. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Duran, for that overview of provided advices and pending advices, both from a parliamentary level as well as a governmental one. The MP Lacruz, you request the floor, right? Yes, now you are, and I give the floor to MP Lacruz. MP Lacruz, you have the floor.
A blessed morning, Madam Chair Lady. Refer once again the honorable panel before us, the SIR, and my fellow colleagues, and those in the Tribune, all those listening via social media. So, Madam Chair Lady, I want to set the tone for what is about to take place in this meeting. And I want to highlight the following. Supporting sustainable development. The SIR's mission is to contribute to St. Martin's focusing on areas such as economic diversification, labor market, labor market development, healthcare, education, and environmental sustainability. Solicited and unsolicited advices is how the SIR functions. With this in mind, Madam Chair Lady, I'd like the SIR to give me their honest opinion to the environment, the investment environment on St. Martin, seeing what is taking place right now with a case of 92 million and a minister, well, the husband of a minister of TIAT that is responsible for exactly where this problem started or is. So I'd like the SIR's opinion on that, because, Madam Chair Lady, I think, and speaking to foreign investors, they keep asking me the same questions. How can this be possible? Anywhere else in the world, this minister would have literally stepped down. And this is nothing new. It has happened before in 2010. The then Minister of VSR, within 2 months, a case was called, and she did the honorable thing and stepped down. And most of us even forgot that because it happened the way it should have happened. Madam Chairlady, this is not a personal attack, but this is placing country before self. If we want to, at any point, be able to be taken serious in the kingdom or anywhere else in the world, we need to make sure that our own house is clean. And if things are not right, they need to be made right. I will be requesting a public meeting on this topic. So that letter will be coming. Then my second question would literally be, what does the SER think about the comment made by the Prime Minister concerning the SER, or the High Councils? I would like to get a feedback from the SER themselves. I have not seen or heard anything since that was done. Thank you, Madam Chairlady.
Thank you, MP La Cruz. I see that MP Irion also wishes to take the floor on the matter of the annual account of the SER 2024. The MP Irion, you have the floor.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Kafir. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to the SER and their support staff. I see my former schoolmate in the building, and also I would like to also congratulate you on Ms. Jamie's your appointment. So I'll start there, actually. In terms of reading the report, part of, let's say, the challenges or risks in 2024 was actually staffing and the board appointment and et cetera. So in terms of remunerations and FTEs, et cetera, are you now at capacity, or are you now operating at your optimal level? I also see that in the finances, basically there was a surplus of, let's say, 200,000 guilders about, and it stated that that came from underspending due to delays in board operations, travel, consultancy, etc. So in terms of the underspending, that's 2024. How are we looking now in 2025 then? Because a lot of those issues, I'm assuming, has been resolved. So how are we looking in 2025 in terms of budget under and overspending? The SER received, another thing, so I appreciate the quality of your website. So it's a easy, nice, fast website, but at some pages, they're not optimized for mobile. So on the annual report section, you can't download the annual report on mobile, but on the laptop or desktop you can. But most websites are actually visited at least 80% by mobile now. So I will ask your developer to have that optimized for mobile also. In terms of the advices, so you mentioned, and I wasn't too clear on what you were saying then. So you had the SAHA, you had the visitors tax, you had the amendment to the decree passenger transport. You had a few advices, I believe in 2024 that were given by government. And in your report, you mentioned that all of these will be finalized and published by 2025. But I'm not too clear on which ones were finalized and published, because I didn't get to go through all of them. So out of those that you mentioned in 2024 that will be finished and published in 2025, which ones were finished, finalized, and published? And if they weren't, where are we now in that timeline? So what is the expected timeline on the finalization and the publishing of these reports? Okay, yes, one of the issues was capacity building. filling the senior policy advisor role. I believe that is filled, and being able to expand on the analysis or the analytical depth of the SARE report. So, in terms of, I guess again, capacity building, are you there now? So, can you operate in 2026 at the most optimal for your department? And then we have as part of your strategic plan, I see is to continue to basically proactively advise Parliament on very specific areas, labor, health, fiscal reforms, etc. So what does that plan entail? So how do you plan to proactively do that? Are you planning to come to Parliament more, send us more? Like what does that plan entail? And last two things would be website is good. I would take a page out of the Audit Chamber's book in terms of media, taking the reports, making short videos of them, letting the public understand what the reports are, because now you have a lot of reports published, right? But I think in terms of being transparent to the public, and I believe High Councils being transparent to the public means communication. So, I believe so for Parliament also. If we could say we're doing all this work, but if the average person doesn't understand the relevance of the High Councils, if they don't understand that this work is being done and the data is there, and what that data means to them, I think it doesn't. We're doing a disservice to the citizens, right? So I think for 2026, if we could see more breakdowns of what these reports mean to the average person, if that is more publications in the media, if that's more videos, etc. And then yes, there was a comment from the Prime Minister that I would like address, and we have the budget debate coming up soon, in terms of we have so many High Councils, and a chunk of the budget is dedicated to them. And I think in terms of density and population size, we probably have the most entities that regulate government or and work with Parliament per square kilometer. So in terms of the SARE position, do you see any overlap in terms of other High Councils? Do you feel that you are actually under budget? So if we had to provide more budget, would we see more done? And we also have more members of Parliament, I think in 2025, 2024, being even more proactive in terms of bringing legislation to Parliament that now needs advice of the SARE. And, we want to get things done faster. It needs to go to SARE before it goes to Council advice. So what can be done on the SARE side to be able to process advices from the Parliament side specifically faster, so that legislation could process faster, get to the Council advice faster? And would you be okay with saying, if a member of Parliament submits legislation to the SARE, and the SARE cannot, let's say, review it in 6 months, for example, that we then could just say, okay, we now move on to the Council of Advice? I think that, for me, there needs to be a sort of a timeline. In some countries, we don't have to go to the SARE depending on the type of legislation. I also don't believe that every piece of legislation needs to go to the SARE. So what would your advice be in that case? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Irian. Is there any other member of Parliament who wishes to address the annual report of 2024 of the SARE? I see MP Veronica Janssen-Webster wishes to do so. MP Janssen, you have the floor.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to my fellow colleagues and to the people in the Tribune and those listening at home. And good morning and welcome to the SARE. I have one follow-up question based on the presentation. It was mentioned about the board renewal in 2026, and I just wanted to know by when this has to happen. So if it's earlier in the year or when, because we are already in the last quarter of 2025. So I would like to know by when this new board has to be put in place. And Also, something that has to do with what the colleagues before me spoke about. I just wanted to know your current advices that you have. I know some advices are more detailed than others, are more is a bigger project. But just what is your current average time to process an advice now? And then I have another question just following the news recently. The Employer Council of St. Martin is also members with y'all in the SER. So they have spoken out a lot about GDP and statistics in St. Martin, and I wanted to know from the SER itself, how is your working relationship or your access to statistics, our national statistics? How are you experiencing that? And I don't know, this is up to you if you would like to say anything about what you think about the calculations that the Employers Council mentioned about the GDP, if you have an opinion about those calculations. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Janssen Webster. Any other member? I don't see that being the case at this moment. Before I give the floor to the representatives of the SED here, if I can just ask that in responding to the questions, if you can expound further on the question of MP Iran as far as publication is concerned, and the publication of your advices and how you have experienced that, and how is that in addition to doing it, how is your experience with it in terms of getting your advices eventually published? How has your experience been with getting that done? MP Iran has already highlighted the areas of your website. I ask you to look at that as well. So, and with that, I look to the chairperson, Mr. Duran. Are you ready to respond to the queries by the members of parliament, or would you like a few minutes to collect those answers, so to speak? Mr. Duran?
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Yes, we would like to request a few minutes,
Okay.
5 minutes that we can caucus and provide the relevant answers to the questions.
Okay, why don't we then say, I will give you until 11 a.m. So I'll be giving you 15 minutes, giving the MPs also a chance to do anything in between that they necessarily have to do. Yes, so Mr. Duran, members of parliament, let us adjourn until 11 o'clock. Meeting adjourned. Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this Central Committee meeting of Parliament handling the 2024 Annual Report of the Social Economic Council, the SER, represented here by its chairperson and its staff, its SG and acting SG, Mr. Richardson and Ms. Arnell, respectively. Welcome back, members of Parliament, and I immediately give the floor to the chairperson, Mr. Duran, who would initiate the answers to the questions and comments posed and made by members of Parliament. Mr. Duran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairlady. Thank you, members of Parliament. Madam Chairlady, we have the answers to the questions. I'm going to start with myself answering the questions from MP La Cruz and MP Webster, and then I'm going to give the floor to the Secretary General to answer the questions of the other members of Parliament. The question posed by MP La Cruz, the SER's opinion on the current investment climate regarding the environmental investment of the 92 million. Madam Chairlady, through you, this question is of a, for the SER is of a political nature, which the government and essentially the Parliament, the SER believes should go over. Question number 2 from the MP, the SER's opinion on the statement of the Honorable Prime Minister. At this moment, Madam Chairlady, the SER has no opinion. I think it is important to go back and caucus with the members of the board with regards to the remarks made and also the Secretariat, and to formulate a response with regards to the comments made by the Honorable Prime Minister. Then to the questions asked by MP Webster, what with regards to the board renewal for 2026, when does the board has to be installed? MP Webster, the board for the SER has to be installed by May 1st, 2026. The subsequent question from MP Webster, the current average time to process an advice. Currently, MP Webster, through you, Madam Chairlady, there's no average time to process an advice. Each advice request is different, and depending on its complexity, requires additional time. I think it's important for me to mention as well, however, the SG will elaborate on that. A challenge that the SER has faced throughout the years as it pertains to advising both government and Parliament is the aspect of the lack of data. So that also, as it pertains to advising both government and Parliament, data forms a challenge. And that also, I won't say cause delay, Madam Chairlady, but also causes that some advices may take longer than others. Okay. As it pertains to the question regarding the calculations of the mentioned in the recent article by the ECSM, I would like to state, Madam Chairlady, that the ECSM is also forms a part of the board, but that is not an opinion of the SER. That is the opinion or the statements made by ECSM regarding that specific topic. I would like to also add, as it pertains to the question as it pertains to the Department of Statistics and Data, I have to indicate that the SER has a good working relationship with the Department of Statistics and also the central bank as it pertains to information and data that is required most of the time for our advice process. Now, Madam Chair, I would like to give the floor, if you permit me, Madam Chair, to Mr. Richardson, the SG.
Thank you, Mr. Duran. Mr. Richardson, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, members of Parliament. Good afternoon, Chair Lady. Thank you for this opportunity to address the members of Parliament. I will continue where the chairman left off with the questions from MP Irion and also yourself, Madam Chair Lady. The question from MP Irion, the current state of finances with regards to the SED. Before I continue, thank you for the compliment with regards to our website. We do our best to make sure that the people of St. Martin has access and can review the advices. A few years ago, we started with animation videos explaining the advices. Some of the advices are very complex. The SER cannot publish certain advices without the permission of the Prime Minister based on Article 10 of the Open Bar Marking, the Landsverordening Open Bar Marking, sorry, let me say the right thing. Openbaarmaking van adviezen van de Raad van Advies en de SER, Article 10, Paragraph 4, that responsibility falls under the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has 6 weeks to review the advices of the SER and based on his findings, give his comments, written comments, that there are no objections with regards to any financial matters or national security matters, and then the advice can be published. With regards to the financials of 2024, for a long period of time, the board was inactive, so the funds were not used. The board became active in August 2024, and then we started to make use, the board started to make use of the funds. For 2025, we're still within budget. I can say that from the High Councils and the SER, when you look at all 4 of those institutions, the SER has the smallest budget. That's about 1.3 million or 1.2 million on a yearly average. So where that is concerned, and we're also, every year, we remain within budget, so we don't spend taxpayers' money. Overspend, pardon. We don't overspend the taxpayers' money. So we stay within the rules and we try to keep it we try to keep it respectable. Moving on with question number 4, capacity building, the current state of the staffing capacity of the SER. At the moment, we have 1 vacancy, a hoofdmedewerker, a policy worker. We just welcome Ms. Jamie Murion to the team as a strong asset. I believe experienced lady who has a wealth of experience, worked also in Parliament and for the Minister of VSA. So we're very proud to have her as part of the team. And I must also mention Ms. Richelieu Williams van der Mark, who's also part of the team, also very educated young lady, also works for the SER. So at the moment, we have 1 vacancy. We had that advertised from October 3rd to November 3rd, yesterday, so the vacancy closed. We have 8 applicants, and the Department of HR is currently reviewing those resumes and the motivational letters, and then once a date is set, we will continue with the selection. With regards to the question from MP Irion, also, we have here present with us our office manager, pardon me, Ms. Shamika De Weaver, who also is part of the team. With regards to question 5, advices that were finalized, the chairman mentioned them earlier, but I will just repeat, and I believe you also asked if they are published, if I'm not mistaken, MP Irion. Yes, the letter of advice with regards to the amendment of the National Decree, Passenger Transport, that was received from the former Minister of TEAT and recently submitted to the present Minister of TEAT. That advice is published on the SER website. Then we have the letter of advice to conduct research on early childhood development, the funding model that was also received by the former Minister of Education, and it was recently, earlier this year, submitted to the present Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports. It's also available on the SER website. Then we have the letter of advice with regards to the National Ordnance Visitors Tax and the National Ordnance Preparedness and Resilience Resources, Public Health and Tourism, also available on the website of the Social Economic Council. And that advice request was received also from the former Minister of VESA, President MP Omar Otley. Then we have the letter of advice, the draft initiative, National Ordinance amending Article 3. That advice came from the faction of the United People's Party from MP Otley. That advice was returned to Parliament. Then we have the letter of advice on the draft National Ordinance on the Sustainable, Affordable, Accessible Healthcare Act, the SAHA. That advice was submitted to the current Minister of VSA. However, the SER cannot make that advice public as the draft national ordinance still needs to come to Parliament for debate. Based on the outcome, once that is completed, government has given their comments, the SER can make it public, of course, if there are no objections from government or Parliament. And then we recently submitted the letter of advice on the draft national decree on the SAHA. The SAHA legislation has a national decree in which further legislative matters are regulated. That advice was submitted to the Minister of VSA last week. So those advices, the first 4 that I mentioned are published on the website, and the last 2, not as yet. Continuing with your questions, MP Irion, what does the plan entail with regards to support to Parliament, and also how can we expedite the process of the advices that are handled by the SED? Well, I have some bad news. Well, maybe not for Parliament, but for government. We have to expand our function book. At the moment, the SED cannot continue at the pace that we're going. We need additional support with regards to at least 2 seniors. We have some advice from Parliament that is pending, and we are definitely going to be submitted a revision of our function book to government, and we hope and we look to Parliament for support that revision can be done within the legal allotted time. And once that revision is done, we will be able to hire more lawyers that will be able to support the institution and, by extension, Parliament. The average time, with regards to how long an advice takes, the chairman alluded a bit on it. That is dependent on the advice question. Some of the advices have a more complex nature, a social economic complex nature, so it takes more time. If you look at the SAHA advice, the board took about 6 months to issue that advice, but when you look at the buses and taxi licenses revisions, the tariffs, the board got that done within a month. So every advice is unique, and we understand that there are some delays, but those delays, as the chairman already alluded to, were beyond the SER's capabilities, beyond our control, so to speak. Moving on, with another question from MP Irion, is there overlap with the other high councils? And also, what is the SER's opinion, and what can be done with regards to getting legislation moving through faster? I don't think there is an overlap. Every high council and the SER is advisory body that handles legislative matters of a social economic nature. The ombudsman is more institution that is there for the people, that deals with complaints from government or Parliament or institutions or departments. We have the General Audit Chamber, which can be seen as our bookkeeper, so to speak, our accountant of the country. They focus mainly on the financials. And then we have the Council of Advice, the highest council that looks at all of the legislation that goes through the SED, and also Kingdom, wet caving, all types of different legislation. Each institution plays a role. Each institution, you can't have a country and don't have high councils and SED. You can't have a country without a parliament. You can't have a country without a prime minister. So I think that answers my personal opinion on the matter. What can be done with regards to getting the legislation moving through faster? I need to drink some water for that because
You go right ahead and drink some water, Mr. Richardson.
this question is a loaded question. And at this time, my boss is here next to me. I'm going to say that we are looking into how we can get the legislation moving through faster. We have some challenges. We have some challenges in government. And the chairman is hopefully will have the opportunity to speak to the Honorable Prime Minister with regards to that. And I think all members of Parliament know what the situation is.
Mr. Richardson, if I could ask, no, I honestly don't know. That answer was to which question in particular, so that I can try to.
Question 8, Madam President, with regards to what can be done with regard to getting the legislation moving through faster.
Okay.
The SER has requested a meeting with the Honorable Prime Minister because at the moment it took the chairman 5 months to get his national decree. The chairman forgot to mention that one of the union members, Ms. Peterson, is also currently waiting 8 months on her national decree. The legislation to change the appointment of the criteria, the legislation with regards to establish criteria on which employers are selected and given a seat in the SER has been dormant for a year. It was also not addressed.
Okay, thank you for that explanation indeed.
All right.
And you may continue. You were finished, Mr. Richardson? Okay.
No, I still have some more questions.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
you may continue.
Yeah. So with regards to that question, I hope it's clear, MP Irian. Madam Chairlady, you had also a question with regards to the publication of the advices. How is that experienced by the SER? As stated earlier, the process goes through the Honorable Prime Minister based on Article 10 of the National Ordinance Openbaarheid van Bestuur. So thus far, we haven't received any difficulties with regards to the publication. So I can say that so far it is good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson and Mr. Duran of the SER for the information provided in response to members of Parliament. Members of Parliament, any follow-up to the answers that you have received and the comments by the Secretary General and the chairperson of the SER? We have MP Janssen-Webster. MP Janssen-Webster, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As a follow-up, I understand that the relationship with the SER and statistics, so Stats and Martin, and also with the Central Bank for data is good. However, I still understand data is an issue. So I wanted you to elaborate on what data gaps do you have? So what exactly are you missing in data when you need to look at the different legislation that comes to you? And then if you could repeat for me what has taken more than a year, the employee, I don't know what you mentioned specifically. I understood the national decrees for the board members. There's one that's outstanding still, but the employee, if you could repeat what the name of that was that has taken more than a year. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Janssen. Any other MP wishes to chime in before I turn the floor over? No? Yes? No? I now give the floor to Mr. Duran to start with the answers to MP Janssen. Mr. Duran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairlady. However, I would like to give the word to my colleague, the SG, who will answer these specific questions with regards to repeating the information regarding the decrease, the pending decrease, and also the question regarding the data.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Richardson, you have the floor.
P. Webster Janssen posed the question with regards to what are the gaps that the Social Economic Council is experiencing with regards to data. The question it depends on the information that is received. For example, we're currently going through the Book 7, Title 10, the revision of the Civil Code, and we see that in the in the explanatory notes, information is missing. Sometimes you receive figures that are outdated, and then we would request the institution to provide us with more recent figures. Also, when we look at the information that we receive from STAT, we compare that based on the previous years, the census research that is being done. We compare that information, and we also have different institutions that have data, but do not always open and willing to share that data. We also experience that we have certain departments. It depends on the type of information you ask. Although we have an article in our legislation which states that government should provide the Social Economic Council with the information that it is seeking, sometimes that information is not handed over. In 2019, we issued unsolicited advice to government in which we pointed this out. Data Matters is the name of that advice. That's the author there, Ms. Arnell. However, we didn't receive a response, but we still hear and see that there are other institutions also struggling with the same challenges as the Social Economic Council. With regards to the question that you had in 2020 to 2023, there was also an impasse with the employers. The employers for the past few years have an issue with how the seats are distributed amongst the members. There are 3 seats in the Social Economic Council, and you have different employer organizations. So that has always been a challenge. You have some employer organizations that are of the opinion that all seats belongs to them based on their size and who they represent. And you have others who are smaller who also want a seat at the table. That issue has been going on from the inception of the Social Economic Council dating back to the Chamber of Commerce. However, last year we initiated, with the help of SER Netherlands and SER Curaçao, legislation in which is applicable in the Netherlands. It is a legislation, beleidsregels, representativiteit. So it boils down to a national decree in which criteria is stipulated on who represents small business, who represents big business, what is an employer organization, what are the criteria that they have to meet. As the chairman already explained, we submitted that draft legislation to government on the 26th of November 2024, and we never received a response. So that's the one that I hope you were seeking information on? Okay. Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson, for that response. I see MP Erin. MP Erin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just 2 follow-ups. One, I had mentioned the mobile optimization, because even MP York said he couldn't get a report, and I told him the same thing, that the mobile is down, is not working properly. And then you mentioned your potential function book. Is that finalized already? So can we expect that to be submitted in 2025 so government could work on it for 2026 budget? Because that'd be important. We haven't received the 2026 budget as yet, so those are things that they maybe still could work on.
Thank you for that comment. MP Erin, members of parliament, I see that we have no further questions or comments with respect to but we do. Okay, I'll get, oh yes. Oh, you want to respond? Sure, before I give the closing remarks, let me allow you to do that, Mr. Richardson. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To answer MP Erin's question, indeed, we will have our web administrator look at the website We are aware that it is mobile optimal, but there could be some issues at the moment. So our apologies for that, and we will have our web administrator look into it. The legislation is ready. The legislation is ready. It is not an issue. The issue is when it gets to the Ministry of General Affairs. That's the issue.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson, for that clarification. Members of Parliament, I don't see the need for any further remarks on the annual report of the SER of the year 2024. So I want to thank, of course, the chairman of the SER, Mr. Duran. We have our Secretary General of the SER, Mr. Richardson, and we have our Acting Secretary General and Senior Policy Worker of the SER. And we thank all the three of you for being here this morning and elaborating on your report of 2024. Look forward to you getting some of the pending work out of the pipeline so that Parliament can, where relevant, Parliament can continue with those items. Members of Parliament, support staff, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the Central Committee meeting of Parliament. I thank you for your participation, and I hereby close this meeting. Meeting closed.